Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, which playoff hopefuls need to hit the panic button right now and which teams can afford to wait? Meanwhile, NBA offenses are finding new ways to break records, and Jonathan Kaminga finds himself in the middle of trade speculation again.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. However you're tuning in on YouTube or your favorite podcast app, thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com, place your NFL live bets all season long. I'm Wes Goldberg. Today we're talking about record-breaking NBA offenses and winners and losers from the weekend. We're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt.
Hope everybody had a great weekend. The Clippers did not. The Clippers did not have a great weekend. So we'll talk about that a little bit more.
From the Locked On Bulls podcast, also a Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report, it's Haize.
Listen, the Bears and the Bulls lost yesterday, and it still was one of the best weekends of my life because it was my birthday weekend. So I'm still on cloud nine.
Still milking it, Haize. Still milking the birthday stuff. Good for you, man. The Dolphins won. I think their third straight game.
What's
Tua Tagovailoa 8-0 over the New York Jets. That's all I need as a Dolphins fan.
What's football? I don't know. I don't know what football is. Never liked it personally.
The Dolphins over the Chiefs right now in the playoff hunt, Matt.
Yep.
Let's start today by looking at a few teams having a rough go at it that are not the Kansas City Chiefs right now. The Clippers, as Matt mentioned, now 3 games out of last place in the Western Conference. The Bulls, which Haize covers over at Locked On Bulls, have lost 7 in a row. My Miami Heat guys have lost 3 games in a row, and the Cavaliers have lost 5 of their last 7. They've dropped into the play-in picture in the East. For more on the Cavaliers situation, here's more from Danny Cunningham of Locked On Cavs.
I think that this is the most important week of the season. I look at their upcoming schedule, and it's a very, very manageable one. But this is, to me, their last real opportunity to get right. And it's crazy to say that because it's December, right? But we have not seen this team be anything close to what we thought they would. And at a certain point, you have to listen to what you're being told. The talent on this roster, I still think is second to none in the Eastern Conference. I don't think that there's a team with more talent than the Cavs have when they're at full strength. The big problem is they have not been at full strength whatsoever this year, but they've also not done things that they need to do. They can find ways to win where they play the style of basketball that the other team would prefer to play, or they find ways to win where they don't play all that well and you don't necessarily feel great about watching it. This is something that I just don't know that is a sustainable model for the Cavaliers.
So you hear Danny say that this is one of the most important weeks of the season for the Cavs. They have several days off until they face the Wizards on Friday night in this weird week that we're having, kind of wrinkle for the NBA Cup where some teams have a bunch of these days off. But guys, between the Cavaliers and the other teams that we just mentioned here, who is measuring the highest on your panic meter? Matt, start with you.
I mean, I think it's the Clippers. Just like, what is your hope here? You know, you were this great defensive team last year, and that's gone. It's gone. And I don't know how you turn this around. Your pick is owed. That puts the extra pressure on it. You don't have a lot of confidence in these guys. Like, your best players, you're not like, oh, yeah, they'll turn it around. If this was most teams, you'd be like, yeah, they'll turn it around. They'll get it together. I don't have the confidence with Kawhi and James Harden. I don't have the confidence with Tyronn Lue. Like, they are spiraling. One thing that's really weird with the Cavaliers is, like, when they win, they are unbelievable. And when they lose, they're like the worst team in the universe. Because I was like, well, are you kind of balanced where it's like one gets worse and one, like, offense gets worse, defense gets better, etc. And it's like, no, like, they can't score at all in their losses, and they have a 121 offensive rating in their wins. Like, it's literally just like every other night, and their win profile is so random. I have concerns about the Cavaliers and the Clippers here. And with the Cavaliers, I think it's a little bit more dramatic because it's like, at least the Cavaliers can do something if they think, hey, this isn't working anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the Clippers right now, they just look like a team that's DOA. Like, we knew that they're one of the oldest teams in the league coming into this season, but it's more than that. James Harden's having statistically a really, really strong season, but that impact's just not there. I think the Clippers need to just go ahead and blow it all up. I don't think that they can really recoup this. The Cavs are different. To Matt's point, the Cavs, if you make the right trade, sitting Jared Allen on, something like that, you can quite considerably, improve your team. I just don't know if the Clippers have that. Like, the best bet for them is to go ahead and exit out of it, keep it pushing. The Cavs, they have a option there that they can pull at the trade deadline if they feel like something's out there to improve it, or they can see it out this season and make that trade in the offseason. That was the benefit of them locking all their core in to extensions, that you now giving yourself more of a runway to make some decisions there. But I'm more nervous, I guess, about the Clippers, if that's what we're calling it here. But I didn't have much faith for the Clippers coming into the season anyway.
What's past the panic meter? Because it feels like even hitting the panic button right now for the Clippers wouldn't do anything. Like, the ship has already crashed into the Titanic, or into the iceberg, and it's on the floor. Like, we're sorting through the wreckage already with the Clippers thing. Like, it's past panic button time,
which is crazy because it's like it happened so quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just, and they had that little bump after they told Chris Paul to go home, and then like they got blown out in Miami, and it was like, oh, Kawhi Leonard is going to make a statement. He's going to bring it. Nope. Back to sucking completely. So I don't know, man. Here's one of the questions is like, they're going to want to trade all the big contracts, which are scary because it's like, Kawhi's awesome. He's got to play. And then Harden comes with all the Harden problems that exist with him. So like, there's a lot of conversation. A weird rumor about the Celtics and Zubac popped up over the weekend. Like, do you go that far? Do you trade the good players that are actually viable right now? Like, do you trade the good pieces that you have that aren't decrepit, Haize?
Yeah, I mean, listen, unless you feel like that this is salvageable, to where you can salvage this and still go on a run this season with where they are, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to do. Like, trade the good players first to have the best value, and then just see what you can recoup there, and then just trade players after that. So the Zubac thing is surprising, but if they're gonna go for a total blow up, it's not like they're gonna be back contention in Zubac's prime if they decide to do that. So I can understand why they'd be interested in moving him.
I think the Cavaliers have to be at the top of this list just because of what the expectations were for them and what they still could be now, right? The Eastern Conference is still wide open. The Cavaliers, I agree with Danny from that clip. I don't know that there is a team that's more talented on paper than the Cavs in the Eastern Conference, especially when they're healthy. The fact that this is how they're stumbling is so weird. And to Matt's point, like, there's games where they look great, there's games where they don't, and those games where they don't, they look really not great. And Danny was saying later on in that podcast how they're, even when they do win games, it doesn't even feel like it's a Cavaliers win. It just sort of feels like they're kind of putting things, they're just sort of haphazardly winning some of these games, and that they just lack a clear identity. Haize, I want to get your take on the Cavs, but I also want to get your take on the Chicago Bulls, who have lost a bunch of games in a row here too.
I mean, the Cavs, I am worried about, but we know the Cavs are good. Like, out of the teams that we've talked about, the Clips and the Cavs, like, I'd still be willing to bet that they're still going to find a way to turn it around at some point this season, because we know how good that team is. I think their floor is still really, really high in the Eastern Conference. So as far as the Bulls, though, we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. The Bulls are in a complete and utter tailspin. Like, there's just, this team looks so lethargic. It looks like it doesn't care. They look like they don't like playing with each other. And when you look at this team back from when they finished the season, 17-5 last year over that 22 games, and started off the season 5-0. The thing that you looked at was this was a team that was scrappy. They were competitive. It looked like they loved playing together, and that's all gone away. So I'm worried about the Bulls in the sense that it seems like there's something more than just stuff going on the basketball court there. It seems like there's something, whether they've lost the coach, they're over Billy Donovan, something going on in that franchise, and that's the bigger concern there. But it's not like they've ever been like a playoff phenom or anything like that either. So
yeah, it felt like something happened. I still go back to that thing where they had started losing, and Haize noted that. But then, like, Vooch has that weird post-game press conference after they win when Jalen Smith, like, they're all excited, and Vooch was pissed. Like, that was a weird moment.
mm-hmm.
Like, that was just a weird moment that I keep kind of going back to. I do kind of think the Bulls are what I refer to as a mirror team, which are there's teams that get off to a really good start in October and November. And then sometime between November 15th and December 15th, they look in the mirror. They just catch themselves in the reflection and go, oh, we're terrible. Oh, we're not any good at all. Like, that's what they feel like to me. Cavaliers, 2-8 versus teams with a top 10 point differential. So half of their games have been versus teams with a top 10 point differential. They're 6-0 versus those bottom teams. So like, that's pretty interesting to me that basically that's encouraging. Actually, if you're the Cavaliers, they're 6-3 versus the middle 10. So they're 12-3 versus teams that are not in the top 10 in point differential. And if you're like, well, you gotta beat the good teams in the playoffs. Yeah, but that's a playoff problem, not a regular season one. In the regular season, you get wins by beating bad teams. You win at home and you win your division games. That's probably encouraging for where the Cavaliers can kind of get to by the end of the season.
Nobody said the Heat, who have lost 3 straight games, but they did it 2 games without Tyler Hero, 1 game without Norm Powell, 1 game without Davion Mitchell. So it doesn't sound like anybody's panicking on that end of it. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to go from the bottom of the standings to the top of the standings. It's been one of the most fun starts to an NBA season, guys, in a very long time. We have some record-breaking offenses to thank. We'll talk about that next. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto, all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. We air Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. I want to talk about some of these NBA offenses. We've never, I think, guys, been in a more interesting time for offense right now. Last year, we had one team with an offensive rating of 120 plus. That was the Cavaliers. This season, we have 5. The Denver Nuggets, Boston Celtics, who have somehow are number 2 in offensive rating. The Knicks, the Rockets, and the Thunder. What's so interesting to me, guys, is how they're doing it, and they're doing it in different ways here. Denver, efficiency, right? Points in the paint. They're hitting a bunch of their threes. Their free throw rate is really good. Boston's getting up shots like nobody else. 95.3 shots per 100 possessions. That's lapping the field. The Knicks are taking and making threes. The Rockets, we all know, second chance points, offensive rebounds, and the Thunder are getting points off of turnovers. Matt, we were in an era for a while here where it just felt like a lot of NBA teams were playing the same. And you were on this about, how Steph Curry maybe influenced a couple of seasons of the NBA, maybe in the wrong way, where everybody was kind of trying to do Steph Curry ball a little bit. What do you make of offenses now and some of the shot making that we're watching and just kind of the different ways that we're seeing offenses play?
Yeah, I mean, I really like how you kind of describe the differences in these guys' teams. Like, Houston's such a weird outlier where it's like their half-court offense isn't very good at all, but they are so dominant on the offensive glass that it makes up for it. Like, it is wild how much of an advantage, how much of their offense comes off of second chance points. Denver, the efficiency, they're at 1.1 points per possession in the half court. So for every 100 possessions, they're scoring 110. About 111, actually. The next closest team would be at 106. So if both teams played 100 half-court possessions, the Denver Nuggets are 5 points better than the second best team. That's wild. OKC, it is literally never turn the ball over, make bucket. Like, that's it. Like, there's very little passing. There's very little dynamicism. It's just don't ever turn the ball over. Get out and transition on fast breaks because of turnovers. And don't ever screw up and make bucket. That's it. Like, that's like how they're doing this. So the difference in these kind of styles, I think, is really fascinating, watching the differences in how, like, look at some of these numbers, though, for the 3-point thing. The Warriors have the highest 3-point rate in the league. Their offense is 20th. Brooklyn has the second highest. They're 28th. The Cavs are 3rd. They're 8th. The Celtics are 4th. They're third. But then the Hornets are fifth. They're 24th. The 3-point button, Haize, is no longer like a cheat code where it's just like, just take more threes, because teams have figured out how to use the threat of 3-pointers to open up the paint more. And those are even more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, it's that evolution that we talked about last year. Like, eventually it was going to come, right? Like, the 3-point revolution was eventually going to even out. Our defense was going to catch up. I do think we're seeing a refinement of the offensive game. Still a lot of 3-pointers being taken. Make no mistake about that. But I do think we're starting to see certain teams get back to more fundamentals, which is really good. I still would like to see more mid-range shots taken, league wide, but we are still in the midst of an offensive revolution. The defense will eventually catch up, maybe in the next 5 years or so, but we are still seeing a constant refinement of offense in the NBA.
You have 3 teams averaging 18 points, second chance points per 100 possession.
That's
Houston,
great.
the Knicks, and the Celtics of all teams. Like, but by the way, Wes, I am sorry. I know that you are in charge here. We may have to start talking about Joe Mazzulla, Coach of the Year. Like, we may have to start heading in that direction, man. I can't believe what they're accomplishing without Jason Tatum, with Kata, with the guys that they have contributing. Jordan Walsh, Dare Jordan, they're calling him. I mean, it's been an amazing coaching job by Joe Mazzulla this season.
It has. That'll be the last we talk about him for Coach of the Year. Congrats. What I find interesting about this too is, like, there was a time where threes are worth more than twos, and that was sort of the math that everybody was trying to get in on. And then pace was a big thing. Matt, you mentioned some of those numbers with 3-point rates and how that doesn't necessarily equal elite offense. Pace doesn't necessarily equal elite offense. Every once in a while, you have an Indiana Pacers team that's doing both things, but the fastest teams aren't necessarily the best offensive teams by offensive rating either. So, but I still think we're talking about the evolution of the math thing. All these teams, whether it's Boston or Denver or Houston, they're just figuring out their way to win the math problem. And the Rockets have figured out, hey, we're never going to be this. We can't do it the way the Celtics do it, right? We can't be that good of a 3-point shooting team, but we could do it this way with our 3 centers and all these things, and we could just win the math problem with offensive rebounds. Haize, you pointed to something there though that I want to get back to. How you think maybe defenses will eventually catch up. Do you think that the offense that we're seeing is coming at the expense of, I want to say good defense, but I don't even want to go like defensive ratings and all that kind of stuff. Just like, to you watching the games, do you feel like just defense is non-existent right now?
I won't say completely non-existent, but I do see we see a lot of teams now that they try to get out in transition as quick as possible, which means not always fighting after defensive rebounds, things like that. And so I do think we are seeing some sacrifice of defense to get out in transition faster. But like you said, not all the fastest teams are necessarily the best teams offensively. But I do think some of those teams that are in the bottom offensively, they just actually committed more to defense. It would get them easier shots on offense. And we may see those teams be a little bit better offensively as well.
I think a lot of this is there's a trickle-down effect from specifically how guards are officiated. If you go over a screen, if you fight over a screen, it is 50-50 whether or not you're going to get, like, you are way more likely to get a foul called on you than an illegal screen called. And that the screeners have such leeway to create separation, which makes it harder to contain the ball. And once the ball is, you break contain, because of the 3-point threat, it's not even necessarily, like I said, the volume of threes. It's that you're now in the spot where I have to help, but I can't help so much that I can't recover. So everyone exists in no man's land. And that just creates a lot of havoc, because with the level of, I will say this, the level of passing is better and better. Like, that's been, I think, the change over the last couple of seasons, where it was like, okay, pick and roll, breakdown, help comes, kick to the shooter. Okay, well, now they're getting better at those rotations. So what's the counter to that? Move the ball again. Right? Drive, kick, drive, kick, drive, kick, drive, kick, drive, kick. And eventually you're going to create either an open layup or an open 3. The Warriors influenced a lot of this. We've talked about Steph, but the other thing is that Draymond on that short roll lob now means that if you play 2 at the level on screen, because that's a great way to contain it, right? Okay, we don't want to break contain on the ball handler. So let's bring 2 to the ball. Well, if you're able to beat that by hitting the short roll, you have so many bigs now who are able to handle Like catch the ball, have the hands to catch, dribble, and then either finish or pass. Like Jalen Duren's a great example of this. Duren is a sneaky, great passer. If you don't bring help, he's dunking on you. If you bring help, Duren's kicking to shooters. And that combo, even if you make that correct rotation, you're seeing breakdowns, which is why we're seeing more zone. But again, we have the bigs to be able to flash middle and counter that. Like the offenses are so ahead of it. The only way to really kind of rebalance this is to allow more from the perimeter defenders in terms of their physicality, touching, grabbing, hand checking. Like you're just going to have to allow more of that if you want to slow down the offense.
Adam Silver was talking about this. I think it was on the Pacers broadcast last week about this point exactly, Matt, and how that is starting to maybe become something that the officials are doing, where there was a point where the league thought, hey, everybody wants everybody to be Steph Curry. Everybody wants to be freedom of movement, running around the perimeter, no touching allowed. And they're starting now to allow a little bit more physicality. But to your point, maybe they can allow even a little bit more than what's being allowed right now. Again, guys, I love what I find so interesting about NBA offenses right now is just how everybody is doing it in a different way. And we're getting different kinds of elite offense. And when people sit there and say, I don't watch the NBA because everybody's playing the same and everybody just wants to shoot threes, that might have been correct a couple of years ago, but I'm really glad that we're coming out of that era. And I think the league is in a really good spot right now in terms of how offenses are playing and figuring things out.
I agree, but we're at a 22% free throw rate. It was 19% for last season. We got stop calling fouls. Stop. No one wants it. Except for James Harden and Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves.
A name we have not talked about in a while, Jonathan Kaminga. He finds himself in the middle of trade speculation. Again, we'll talk about that when we get to winners and losers from the weekend next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you could bet on next touchdown scorers, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. Looking at this week, the NBA Cup knockout stage begins this week. Make your bets on who's going to advance past this stage and even who's going to win the NBA Cup final on FanDuel. So if you want to bet, if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast. So can you. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Cavs, Locked On Bulls, Locked On Heat, and more for more on today's top stories. Guys, it's Monday. Time to talk about winners and losers from the weekend. I'm going to kick things off with our loser from the weekend, and it's got to be Jonathan Kaminga. Trade speculation growing after Kuminga was a DNP-CD in the Warriors' 30-point blowout over the Bulls this weekend. Haize, is this just a matter of time before Kuminga is traded? Was this, in other words, a punctuation? This is it. Kuminga, we don't even need you to win games anymore.
He's been saying this for 6 months.
When he signed the contract, I thought we were all in agreement that this contract was signed with the purpose of him being traded. So, yes, Jonathan Kaminga will not be on the Golden State Warriors after February 5th trade deadline. He will be on a team before that point in time. It's not surprising or shocking to me at all. This I think was all, to quote my favorite rapper that actually got to work on his last album, Nas, it was already written.
Excuse me, you worked on Nas's last album?
Yeah, I did all the promo for it. I did the whole interview series and the promo videos and commercials and videography for it.
That's bio and everything, man. Gotta do your research. Gotta do your homework, man.
Apparently I'm not doing it.
Hey, I will note Kuminga is not eligible for trade till January 15th because of the extension. So we got another month of this. It is really hilarious to me that we had the start of the season where it was like, he's bought in and he's contributing and like blah, 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 blah. And now we're right back here. Like we're right back here where he's not. Look at the money they gave him and he's getting DNPs. Are you kidding me? Like
that's a trade value, doesn't it, Matt?
It does. It does. But I here's the question I have is like, everyone will jump to their reason. Like if your prior is that like one famous internet account that Steve Kerr is Satan and is here to destroy all of mankind, then it's Steve Kerr's fault for just being an idiot. I don't believe Steve Kerr is an idiot. I have a lot of evidence that Steve Kerr's probably not an idiot. So why is Steve Kerr not playing him? Why would Steve Kerr DMP him? What's the reason? What's the cause? Is he still like not doing the right things? Like what is going on with this Warriors team? This is going to be interesting from a number of levels. Like there is a salvation on the horizon, which is like if they can make it long enough, maybe they're the team that grabs Giannis. That they're able to throw enough contracts together to go get Giannis. I don't know what that looks like, and from a money perspective, because Minga's going to get him halfway there. But like that saves them, right? That saves everything,
right?
But if we get to the deadline and Giannis is somewhere else, and this is what this team looks like, and everyone's like, well, Steph hasn't played. You cannot expect 36-year-old Steph Curry to cover up for all of this team's problems. You cannot. So like, what happens then?
Haize, I want to throw it to you here because like you've been on top of this. Kuminga signs that contract. It's only a matter of time before he gets traded. And now he's getting DNPCDs and big wins for the Warriors. If you're the Bucks and you're getting a phone call from the Warriors and they're saying, hey, we're going to offer you a Jonathan Kaminga based package. Is that even interesting to you?
It's probably won't be the best trade package they could offer, but it has to be at least enticing in some. Like I said the other day when we talked about the Bucks, they always have to draft or trade for their stars. That's just the Bucks have never been a free agent destination. So if you're getting picks back, and Warriors have 2 first-round picks they can trade that are tradable, if I'm not mistaken. If you're getting first-round picks back and it's past 2030 when Steph and all these guys are off the boards, and you're getting Kuminga back, I think it has to be at least somewhat interesting to you. It's not the immediate return than some other teams can offer you, but it's at least an enticing package because you get a player like Kuminga, you could turn loose, and you get some future picks that, could end up being good because at that point, Steph and Dre are gone.
Hey, they're not going to do it because, as you noted, AK doesn't make trades. What are you more open to? An Anthony Davis trade, which is getting more and more buzz, or a Jonathan Kaminga trade for the Bulls?
That's a tough question because I think AD fits in more with what they have going on now and brings something that they are lacking if he's going to be on the basketball court. Kuminga, I'm worried about because at that point, Kuminga's better when he's on ball. He's not a great off-ball player. And correct me if I'm wrong, have you ever seen 3 on-ball dominant players ever really, really be successful? Because you'd have Giddey, you'd have still Kobe White at that point, unless you include him in the trade, and you'd have Jonathan Kaminga. And I just don't know if I see the dynamic between those 3 players work. If you're giving up Kobe, even though I wouldn't necessarily want to do that, then I'm a little bit more interested in that because he fits the timeline. He doesn't have the injury history of Anthony Davis, and his contract isn't as ridiculous.
Matt, back to you. Winners and losers?
Clippers, big losers, back on the losing streak. They've been absolutely disastrous in this stretch. Gotta be the Magic, losing Franz Wagner. Don't know how long that's going to be, but it seems like this could be like their season may have ended. Like I'm devastated, but it seems like their season. There's a very real chance that their season might have ended. Grizzlies winners. That win on Sunday was very good versus the Portland Trailblazers. Cedric Coward continues to kind of show that he is like legit and is like a future star, and that's going to make a Ja trade easier. Reports, by the way, that the Miami Heat might be a team that is interested in Ja Morant, which I think is actually a really good fit for both sides. Cavaliers losers, can't lose that Warriors game. Cannot. How about the Mavericks getting the win versus the Rockets? That was a wild one for them to be able to pull out. And Kings are, I feel like the Kings have hit bottom and are just kind of like, okay, we're not good, but like it's not going to get worse. We're going to get Demonis back at some point. It's not going to get worse, which probably isn't a good attitude for fans to have because with the Kings, it can always get worse.
My winners, Boston Celtics. They just keep winning now. Like, and if they actually do get Jason Tatum back before the end of this year, they could very well try to go on a run. They still have the Anthony Simons chip to cash in if they decide to trade that to try to find a big. So the Boston Celtics are definitely a winner over the weekend. I think they're on a 4 or 5 game winning streak now. Losers are my Chicago Bulls. Matter of fact, the whole city of Chicago are losers this weekend because
man.
both their teams are terrible. The Blackhawks, which were providing a little glimmer of hope as well, have also started to take a slide. So the city of Chicago is losers this week.
My last winner here, LeBron James, 10 points in the fourth quarter of the 76ers, finally starting to look like himself a little bit, and the fans for getting a piece of that treat. Was it DeAndre Ayton who said he felt like he was in a movie watching LeBron in the fourth quarter? Are we in that phase of like 40-year-old LeBron James when he's playing well like this? It just feels like a movie. I don't know what that's. Yeah, it's weird to frame it that way. I don't think you would say like any other player scoring 10 points in the fourth quarter is like a movie, but that's what this guy means to a lot of the players that he's even playing with or playing against now.
Hey, guess what? The Lakers are #1 in free throw rate for the 4th straight year again.
Well, that's crazy. That's nuts.
Weird.
If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.